What's not simple, Rob, is this Western Conference playoff race. And I'm going to ask you that I've said all season, I can't remember where you're at on this team. I think you're about where I'm at, but I want to hear your view. The Houston Rockets, we know they're going small ball. They have looked good. They've been one of the more impressive teams in the bubble. They're 2-0. They beat Dallas. They beat Milwaukee Sunday, which was a huge win and,
that was
and
a
very
big win,
impressive
right.
win. Yes.
Come back.
Do you think that they're actually a legitimate threat in the West? And if they're a threat in the West, they're obviously a threat to win it all.
When you say legitimate threat or threat, are they a threat? Sure, they're a threat. But the history of Harden in the postseason doesn't make me want to believe, Chris, because we've seen him do what he's done. Until you get to those big moments when, for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. He doesn't get the calls that he gets all year. Have we seen this movie or not? Or am I making it up?
No, that's true. I mean, look, he's certainly had some huge games, but to your point, he's had a number of clunkers. There's no, and not just game 2. You know,
right? Big
we're talking about the biggest games. Yes, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's interesting. On Undisputed this morning, Skip was saying he thinks that because of the rest, the 3.5, 4 months off or whatever it was, that he thinks Westbrook and Harden tire in the playoffs. Like, you know, they play the 82 games. There's such a load on their shoulders that when they get to the playoffs, they kind of get worn down and don't play as well. He thinks that the rest is now going to eliminate that factor and that they could both play incredibly well. Now, he's not going as far to say they'll win the West. And I'm like you. Look, I think they're the third best team in the West. I think they will lose to either of the LA teams that they're going to meet in the second round. But if I had to pick an LA team that I think they would really push and have at least a shot at beating, I would say it would be the Lakers. I think the Lakers' Achilles right now without Avery Bradley is they have trouble guarding the perimeter. And obviously that's the strength of the Houston Rockets.
Right.
And so I think they would be a bad matchup for the Lakers. Again, I would pick the Lakers unless the Lakers just totally look terrible for the rest of these 8 games. But yeah, I would pick the Lakers, but I think the Rockets would have a chance. I don't give them much of a chance at all against the Clippers.
I don't either. When I look at the Clippers and the games that they played, Chris, and I know they're not going to make threes like that. That was unbelievable, record-setting.
Right.
But even the game they lost to the Lakers without 2 of their better players.
Their third and fourth best players.
I mean, they barely lost. You know what I mean? And they had more turnovers than a bakery in that game. I mean, they should have gotten run off the court, right?
That's
to be fair.
No, they look, they're tough. They're really only question about them is, you know, how much will their chemistry develop if they can play together. You know, if they can finally get their full complement of players together. But when they do play together,
what is their record? We've seen it before. They're like 15-1 or whatever.
11-1, I think, when they've got everybody.
I mean, they don't lose.
Yeah, they're tough.
So they're tough. But yes, Houston is always, because of the caliber of player James Harden is, and of course Westbrook, the caliber. Yes, when you're talking about playing them, if you take them lightly or you're not ready for them, could they beat you? Yeah, they could beat you, Chris. They could.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is everybody's talking about what would, and none of us are picking them to win it all, but everybody's asking if they were to win it all, what would it mean for James Harden's legacy?
Oh, it would change everything.
It'd be huge, but here's my thing, Rob. I agree with you. It'd be humongous for him. But what about Westbrook? It's not out of the question that Westbrook could be the one to lead them. I mean, they're both going to play well. But right now, Westbrook's 31 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds in the bubble. And he's taking more shots than Harden. I think what I like about them, Rob, is that since they've gone small, Westbrook and Harden are more of a 1-2 punch versus a definitive number 1 and a definitive number 2. And I think they're better because of it. So I think Westbrook could shine just as much as James Harden.
I don't disagree, but I still think it's about Harden to me, Chris, because of all the bad ones, the clunkers you talked about. Do you know what I mean? Like, and what's the big thing? In the playoffs, they won't give him the calls that he normally gets, which puts him at the line, and he makes all these free throws that go along with the threes from the perimeter.
You make an interesting point. Let me ask you this. So let's say hypothetically, Houston won the championship, and Westbrook was the Finals MVP. He just had a better series, but Harden was still great. Would you still, like when Steph didn't win the MVP, everybody still viewed it as his team. When Kawhi won it in 2014, nobody took anything away from Duncan. It was still his team. Would you view it like that it's still Harden's team, but Westbrook just had a better series? Or would you feel like Westbrook may be their best player, or at least is equal, or you know what I mean?
I think Harden is the better player. I do. Westbrook, we've seen Chris at one point he couldn't make any jumpers. Like,
he can't shoot
he's not a shooter.
very well. Yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying, so it's hard for me to look at him and think that he's the best player on that team when you think about, Harden's skill and what he's able to do and his range, and whatnot. I think Harden's the better player. Westbrook, I love the way he plays. He plays hard every night. He does a lot of other things and plays with purpose. But no, that wouldn't change my mind. It would be like Harden's the better player, but Westbrook came up bigger.
Yeah, if you force me to pick between the two, I probably go Harden, but I think it's close. And I do think, like, everybody's talking about what it would mean for Harden's legacy if he won a championship. I think Westbrook would be undeniable. Like, if he won a championship as the lead guy, or won the MVP, because he's got those 3 triple-double seasons. You know what I mean? Then it would be my goodness. He won a championship and 3 straight years of triple-doubles.
And the thing that was impressive, and we talked about it before, and I always give him credit when people try to poo-poo or discount his triple-doubles, is their record was way better when he got the triple-doubles. They weren't empty, where he's just putting up numbers, Chris, and they had a losing record or were just a 500 team. They played better and won games. So I respect his triple-doubles.
Yeah, I totally agree. Everybody's like, well, LeBron could do it if he wanted. So-and-so could do it. Well, do it.
Right. Nobody's stopping you if it's that easy.
Westbrook's the only one to do it.
And before the Big O, I mean, 50, 60 years went by? Like, anybody could have done it.
It's not that easy. Kid, Magic, Penny, LeBron, none of them have done it. There's a reason for that. So give Westbrook his props for that. 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369. Your turn to weigh in. Do you think the Houston Rockets are a legitimate threat in the West? Could they beat the Lakers? Could they beat the Clippers? How far can they go? We want to hear from you as we continue the conversation.
All right, let's kick it off with Marcel in Mississippi, a state I've never been to. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Rob? Welcome back on Magic City Monday, man.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris, I don't know, man. I think we need to have In My Feelings Friday or something, because anytime Rob bring up something from Desmond or like the old show, you get in your feelings. Anyway,
I know
man.
why. Hey, Marcel, I'm glad you brought that up.
True.
I'm glad you brought that up.
True.
Here we are, me and Chris. We're rocking on a show, and he worried about what I was doing before we got together. What does he care about that?
I love y'all, man. You know,
he was just throwing it out there to everybody. That's all I'm saying. Golly.
Hey, real quick, I don't think the college season, should happen. To be honest, man, like I do. Luckily, I've been working from home during COVID, but like even through my job, like which is like I work through nuclear power plants, man. Like the power got to stay on. So like we've been we supposed to be telecommuting till like January. So it's like I don't know. But anyway, with the Rockets, like that 3-4 months off, man. It helped them for the whole running gun, shooting, things like that. But I think they're gonna need a solid 5 to like compete with the Clippers or the Bucks or like Lakers, man. So what y'all
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's what I think they're a notch below those teams that you mentioned. And like I said, I don't expect them to beat the Lakers. I'm just saying they would have a better shot at beating them than the Clippers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
But I
out of
expect
those
them to
two.
lose to both. Right.
No doubt. All right, thanks, Marcel. Tony in D.C., you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Tony?
Fellas, what's going on? Welcome back, Rob.
Thank you,
Always
Buzz.
glad to
up,
hear your
man?
voice. Hey, but I must say, your boy Broussard, he was 1992 Jordan Game 1 NBA Finals hot last week.
My
Broussard was
man.
killing them.
Well, yeah, when you bring in
Keep
when
it
you
real, Tony.
when you bring in
Keep it
cupcakes,
real.
when you bring in cupcakes, you're going to get a toothache.
Hey, Broussard was
I
killing
lined
them.
them up like bowling pins, right?
Yeah. But, hey, I got a question for you, Rob. If you can get to it, you can. But if you can't, I understand. But my first comment on the Rockets is, yeah, they can compete, but the X factor's D'Antoni. I just don't trust a man that lets his team miss 20-plus threes in a row and doesn't try to make any adjustments.
No,
That's
But,
a good point.
I just
It's
don't
not
trust
just
D'Antoni.
Harden. It's also D'Antoni got to prove
that's a
something.
great point, and
Right.
his history in the playoffs. He's had
Yeah.
great teams in
Yep.
Phoenix. They could
Yep.
never win.
Yeah.
Rob, question.
Yes, go ahead. What's your other question, real quick?
When were you at the Detroit Free Press?
I was the first black sports columnist ever hired at the Detroit Free Press in 1993. I worked there from 93 to 95.
Okay, because some always wondered with the Pistons, like in the 80s when they were trying to catch the Celtics and the Lakers, did they ever feel a sense of desperation because in their rear view, they knew Jordan was coming? And I always want to know, did you ever get a pulse of that, hey, we got to get this done because this guy in Chicago, he's coming? So I always wondered about that.
I don't think they were worried about Jordan.
I don't think they were, not early on, because remember they owned Jordan.
Yep.
I don't think so.
Yep.
I really don't.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much for the call. Let's go to John in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio.
But I want to make it clear, though, that it's straight Detroit basketball.
Yes, sir.
Yo, man, it ain't been Detroit basketball in a while. You got to admit that.
Hey, it was awesome though, Chris. When it was,
It was good.
Those 7,
it was
8
great
years
while it lasted.
Yes.
The Bad Boys and Bad Boys the remix, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute. But, yeah, as far as that Houston Rockets, man, I think there's a few key points. Yeah, the last caller mentioned D'Antoni. That is true. He doesn't have a proven record, but I think this team is stronger than D'Antoni. If you look, obviously D'Antoni usually runs a 7-8-man roster in the playoffs. So this break worked for them probably more than any other team because they're going to need this renewed energy they got having to play so many minutes once the playoffs start. So I think it works in their favor more than anyone else. And another move I think to add to that I think is that flying under the radar that I think is really going to pay off benefits is Robert Covington. He's that 3-and-D guy. He's giving them that piece that at one point in time, Lord have mercy, he just slipped my mind. He was with them.
Capella? Trevor
man.
Ariza.
Yeah, when he was with them, you seen the Rockets click a lot differently, knowing they had that defender that was out there and that 3 guy. So I think that's the piece. And my final point is, if you look at what LeBron likes to do, everywhere he goes, he wants to bring in these veterans. They got a handful of veterans over there on that bench. Now, I'm not talking about they're going to come in and give you 20 and 10, but they're just going to do little things that they know how to do well when a playoff comes. If they are called on, they're going to be able to bring a championship experience locker room when you got
Stay on the
Westbrook,
line.
Harden.
Keep him. I want to ask you this question. All right, that was all well and good. How far are they going? How far can they go?
I think they can go all the way to the finals due to the matchup
Is that your
issues
pick?
that they'll cause people.
So is that you picking them to win the West?
No, I'm still going to have to stay with the Lakers, but I wouldn't. There's
So
no
all
way
that
I
you
would
said-
put money on it.
So you
Would
still
you
don't
pick them to
but-
beat the Clippers?
I actually don't even know if they would be the ones that play the Clippers.
All right, that was
in
nice.
the
Then.
bubble,
You said a lot of nice things, but you basically were.
you don't believe in them, right? You don't believe in them.
We know they're good. We're not saying they're not good.
Right. Let's squeeze in Craig from Houston. Craig, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio.
Rob, thank you, man. I appreciate you getting some H-Town in here. Absolutely, we can win it. Right now, we got to see how this thing is going to shake out, where we're going to be seated. We can't win it if we got to beat L.A., Clippers, and Lakers. Ideally,
Well, you're going to
I'd
have to
rather
do
play
that.
the Lakers Well, we're going to have to play one of them. We have to do them both.
You're going to have to play both of them,
happen.
probably.
Something could. Well, it depends on where the seedings fall. Right now, we 3. So it depends on where the seedings fall.
If you were at 3, you'd play the Clippers in the second round.
And then you have to play
the Lakers in the conference finals.
See,
or
it's
it's going to be the Lakers in the second round and the Clippers in the conference finals.
But the Lakers would have to make it. I'm counting on something happening to one of them.
You counting on Memphis knocking out the Lakers?
Well, anything can happen. You know,
Not after
one of
tonight.
the guys I'm looking at Anthony Davis, AD. It's kind of like their version of CP3 when we had him. You know, we all were holding our breath the year he got hurt in the fight, in the Western Conference against the Golden State. And AD is the same dude. You know, he's not a stone man. So I'm looking for something out there to happen. Something's going to happen and
you
open the door
on
for
a
us.
star,
and the
man.
other caller, real quick, the caller that said, we made no adjustment after going with D'Antoni for 20-some-odd missed threes in a row. Where the adjustment we made to that was going small ball and putting shooters on the floor. So that won't happen again. That was the adjustment we made. And
you can't miss
happen.
27 straight threes, man. That's
They
ridiculous.
could easily do that this year. They could easily do that because they're going to put up threes. And if they're missing them, they're going to keep shooting them. They're not a great accuracy three-point shooting team on accuracy-wise. They just put up so many that, you hit 34% and it's a lot of points. All right, that was good.